اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. رب زدني علما رب زدني علما رب زدني علما يا فتاح يا عليم افتح لنا فتحا قريبا آمين يا رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I hope everyone is doing good. In today's session, inshallah, we will be covering Tafkheem and the rule of Tarqeeq. Tafkheem, as we learned earlier, means the heaviness. It means the heaviness, fattening or thickening of the sound of the letter. And the applied definition for Tafkheem was that we thicken the letter by making it fat at its makhraj with strong characteristics. So as a result, the sound becomes thickened at its makhraj and the whole mouth is filled with this echo. And these were the pictures just giving you an idea how the thickness works. So this was the practical example of the shape of the mouth with the tongue specifically, because when we use the tongue while curving in the middle, it brings the echo, it brings the heaviness to the sound, and keeping the tongue flat will leave it light. Okay, so this is what we've learned so far. This is another example of how the echo is created in the mouth for the sound of the letters to make it mufakham, make it heavier. And we also learned about the letters which are always read with the thick sound. Those letters are 7 permanently heavy letters. Khusa, Daghin, Tid. These are the letters of isti'ala and they always have a tafkheem in it. We learned about the letters which are heavier than the heavy letters. The Sad, Dad, and the Ta and the Dha. These are the 4 letters. They are extra heavy, means they have a more tafkheem in it than the rest of the letters because of their characteristics. The letters Alif, Lam, and Ra, we learned that they can take a tafkheem, and sometimes they are read with lightness, means the Tarqeeq. We learned the different opinions, the 2 opinions regarding the degree of heaviness, the tafkheem. We learned about Ibn al-Jazari and the opinion of Ibn al-Tahan. Ibn al-Jazari, we learned that he has given the 5 levels of heaviness, whilst Ibn Tahan, he gives the 4 levels. And for the second letters, his opinion is that we need to look at the letter before it and then give the same heaviness, take the same level if the letter before it has a fatha. So this second letter will become the first level of heaviness. And likewise with level 2 with the dhamma and level 3 with the kasra. The tafkheem and nisbi will learn that the letters qaf, ghain, and the kha, when it gets a kasra under it, their heaviness decreases and they becomes relatively mufakham. So their heaviness can be compared by comparing it with the light letters. We can see the letter qi, ghi, and the khi, even though they are relatively heavy, but they still have the heaviness. Yes, they still contain the heaviness. They are not light letters, even though their heaviness decreases to a large degree. We have the exception where the letter kha, when it is sakin, preceded by a kasra, means the letter before it has a kasra, and the letter after it has a ra mufakhama, means the letter ra has a fatha or a dhamma after it, then the kha sakina is not a relatively heavy now, means it's not tafkheem and nisbi, but it takes the full tafkheem now. So the kha will become full mufakham letter when it is preceded by a kasra and followed by a ra fatha with the alif after it, or the ra with the dhamma. That was an exception to this level. In today's lesson, inshallah, we'll learn about the difference between tafkheem and isti'ala. So these are the 2 characteristics. These are the presented characteristics. Isti'ala is a permanent characteristic, but tafkhim is presented. So let's see the difference between the two. التفخيم is a صفة عارضة, whilst الاستعلاء is a صفة لازمة. So صفة اللازمة is the one which does not leave the letter. So the letter will always be read with this characteristic. It's permanently there. It's part of the letter. Isti'ala is a permanent characteristic. Whilst the tafkhim is a sifa arida, means sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. It depends on the circumstances of the letter. It depends how the letter is being presented, how the letter is being used. Depends on its haraka, depends what's after it. So tafkhim is a presented characteristic. We call it sifa arida, and isti'la is sifa al-lazima, permanent characteristic. Tafkhim is wider than isti'la, whilst the isti'la is only applicable to 7 permanently heavy letters: kha, sad, dad, ghain, ta, qaf, and the dha. Why do we say that tafkhim is wider than isti'la? Is because tafkhim can be applied to the letters of isti'la, khusa, daqtin, qid, and it also includes the letters alif, lam, and ra. However, isti'la does not apply to these 3 letters alif, lam, and ra, because those are the letters of istifal. They are light letters, but sometimes depends on the circumstances about the haraka and how they are used in the word, they can take tafkhim. Therefore, we will say that tafkhim is wider in its scope and application than isti'la. So these are the 2 different things, a difference between a tafkhim and isti'la. So it's important to know the difference, because sometimes we just use tafkhim interchangeably with isti'la, thinking maybe it's the one and the same thing. However, tafkhim is the characteristic which is presented, as I said, it is a result of isti'la. Okay, so when we raise or elevate the tongue from the back towards the palate, towards the soft palate, either it touches the palate or it comes close to it. Now this is the positioning we bring for making the letter heavy. The sound should be heavier now. However, we need also to curve the tongue. We need to concave it. So the echo of the sound, it goes up and down. So the sound goes towards, the pressure is made so that the sounds, the direction is gone towards the palate, and it comes down. So the echo is created. So this echo, this mechanism is called tafkhim. So tafkhim is a result of isti'la. However, it's not the vice versa, inshallah. All isti'la letters have tafkhim, but not all tafkhim letters have isti'la. So this is how you can put it together now. Application of tafkhim according to their degree. I covered this earlier as well in my last session, but this is a little bit more in detail. So level 1, now this is the opinion which is taken of Imam Ibn al-Jazari, the 5 levels of tafkhim. So the level 1, according to him, is all the huruful isti'la. So all letters of isti'la with the fatha followed by alif is the first level of tafkhim, the highest level of tafkhim. It also includes the letter lam in lafzul jalala and the ra when it follows the alif after it. We know that the lam in lafzul jalala, it has the fatha and it has inherent alif in it. We don't see alif written apparently in the Rasm al-Uthmani, in the Medina script of the Quran, but we do notice in South Asian script of the Quran. So the lafzul jalala, it has the lam and alif after it. So therefore we will say that now the tafkhim would be at the highest level. The ra with the fatha and alif after it will also be at the same level of mufakham. Level 2 falls under the letters حروف الاستعلاء with the fatha only without any alif after it. All the letters خص ضغط قض takes this level, and the letter ra as well. When the ra gets a fatha on it, now the ra would be read with the second level of tafkheem. You will notice that we haven't added the letter lam in it now. The reason being that lam is only mufakham in lafzul jalala, and lafzul jalala, the lam has alif after it. But in this level, level 2, the lam will not be having any alif. So therefore, we will not give any, we will not add that lam in the second level of tafkheem. So it's only at the highest level, which is the level 1. Level 3, which is the third level of heaviness under these 5 degrees of heaviness. All the huruf al-isti'ala with the dhamma falls under it, and the ra with the dhamma will also take the same level. We know that the ra with the fatha and the ra with the dhamma are read heavily. They are mufakham, they take tafkheem. So therefore they will follow, the ra will also follow the same level. Level 4 falls the huruf al-isti'ala khusa daghdin qidh. Now we'll be taking a sukoon on it. So the level of tafkheem would be at the 4th level. We will not include the ra in it. The reason being, the ra sakina depends now on the letter before it. So whatever the haraka the letter before ra sakina contains, so the ra will be read accordingly. Therefore, the ra has not been included at this level. Level 5, which is the 5th level of heaviness, all the huruf al-isti'ala with the kasra under it falls under level 5, and it's obvious that the ra with the kasra is read light, so therefore the ra is not included in it. I hope this is clear now, inshallah. The level of heaviness of the letters depend on the sifat. So it is important that we need to learn the sifat of the letters as well, especially sifatul lazima, which have the opposites, and the sifatul lazima, which do not have the opposite. So inshallah, we will cover those sifat as well, but at the moment, we have given only those sifat which are applicable to huruf al-isti'ala, because we're learning the tafkheem and tarqeeq rule. Therefore, I have only given and chose to explain only those sifat which apply to khussa daghdin qidh. Now, we have the sifat which are stronger than the others. So the more stronger sifat a letter has, the heavier it will be. So it will the tafkheem would be stronger in those letters. So let's see what are the strong sifat and which one are the weaker sifat. So the strong sifat are jahar, ashidda, isti'ala, itabaq, safir, qalqala, inhiraf, and at-takrir. So the letters which take the sifat, the strong sifat, and I have colored them that a letter, each letter gets at least 5 sifat, and the letters which take more strong sifat will be heavier. So jahar applies to letters Bad, Ta, Va, Ghain, and the Qaf. Okay, it has a jahar. All of these letters have a jahar, and opposite to jahar is hams. Hams is a weak sifa. The letter Kha and the Sad, as you can see, they are huruf al-isti'ala, but they have hams. Therefore, although they are the heavy letters, they are permanently heavy letters, but they have a weak sifa, which is hams. Then ashidda, we have the letter Ta and the qaf, the letter ta and the qaf takes the sifa of shiddah, means when these letters are read, the letters will have a shiddah in it. Therefore, we apply the letter the sifa of qalqala when these letters are read with sukoon, because the sound will be blocked when you try to say these letters. So shidda applies to the ta and the qaf. Isti'la applies to all the khussa, daghdin, qidh letters. So all the heavy letters have the sifa of isti'la. The letter itbaq, the letters of itbaq are sad, dad, ta and the va. Then we have a safir, only the letter sad from khussa, daghdin, qidh applies the letter safir, the sifa of safir. The qalqala, the ta and the qaf as explained earlier. And inhraf applies to the letter ra, and takreer also applies to the letter of ra. Now these are the strong sifat, only applies to these letters with their respective colors. So if I see the weaker sifat, hams applies to kha and the sad, rikhava applies to kha, sad, dad, dha and the ghain. Infitah applies to kha, qaf, ghain and the ra, and istifal applies to the ra. So let's count the number of sifat in a letter so that it will determine its strength. So jahar, that's number 1. We have the letter dad, 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 strong sifat applying to the letter dad. We can see rikhava, which is a weak sifat, applies to the dad. So the dad has 3 strong sifat and 1 weak sifa, which is rikhava. The letter ta, jahar applies to the ta, shiddah also applies to the ta. Then we have isti'la applies to the ta, itbaq applies to the ta. We have qalqala applies to the ta. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 5 sifat are applying to the letter ta. You can see that. Ta doesn't have any weak sifa. I can't see a ta written in there. So ta does not have any weak sifa. Therefore, we will say it is the stronger, like the letter ta has more strong sifat than any other letters, and we can count on them. We can see it. Let's see the letter dha now. So jahar applies to the letter dha. There is no shidda in it. It has isti'la, so the dha takes isti'la. Itbaq, it has itbaq. So 1, 2, and 3. Safi doesn't apply, qalqala doesn't apply, inhraf, takreer. So dha has rikhava, so 1 weak sifa for rikhava. So 1, 2, 3, 3 strong sifat and 1 weak sifa, like the letter dad we saw it. So we can say that it is heavy, but not as heavy like the letter ta. We can keep counting all the letters and determine its strength of tafkheem when it comes to knowing the heavy and the strong characteristics of the letters. So strongest, which is aqwa, means it's stronger than the others. Strongest would be when a letter have all the strong sifat without any weak sifa in it. Then comes the letter only strong, which means that a letter has most of the strong sifat, can have few weak sifa as well. Medium means the letter has equally strong and weak sifat. Weak means most of the sifats are weak in a letter, and weakest means all of the sifat of the letters are weak. So this is how it has been determined. So The strongest amongst all is the letter ba. Therefore, we say the ba is more strong in sifat than the others. The letter Dad also have the letter the sifa of istitala. That is also a strong characteristic that hasn't been included in here, but that only applies exclusively to the letter Dad. Just keep that in mind, please. Okay, opposite to Tafkheem is Tarqeeq, and we understand that the Tafkheem meant thickness, fattening, heaviness, and opposite to that, Tarqeeq means thinning, lightness. It is the thinning of a letter by making it thin at its makhraj with weak characteristics. And we know, since it's opposite to Tafkheem, therefore the tongue will not be curved, it will not be concaved. We curve the tongue only to bring an echo to the sound. Since the tongue would be lowered, it will be flat. There will not be an elevation of the tongue towards the soft palate. Therefore, the sound would be thinning. The mouth is not filled with the echo, and there is no narrowness in the throat. So the back of the tongue, also from the front, will stay flat, and the sound can easily come out. The sound is lowered now. The direction of the sound is not towards the palate. In fact, the sound should come out straight away, keeping the sound of the letters light. Avoid bringing imala or a slant sound to the letters of at-tarqiq. Now, this has been a method which the students try to follow to help themselves to make the letter light, like smiling, taking the corners of the lips towards the cheek, so that helping themselves to make the sound light. But that's not the right method. The right method is just to understand that the heaviness comes when we are curving the tongue and raising it from the back. And if we don't do that, if we just keep the tongue flat, uncurved, and lower it from the back, the sound will become light. The only thing is you need to open your mouth normal, keeping your lips normal, and read it with the fatha like the ba, da, za, ja, ha. The sound will come out light, inshallah. All istifal letters have a tarqiq. So we can see the majority of the letters, most of the letters fall under istifal. Yeah. Istifal is like an opposite to isti'ala. Isti'ala means khusa tinqid, all heavy letters. Other than those 7 letters, all the remaining letters have the characteristic of al-istifal, and istifal is again a permanent characteristic, and at-tarqiq is a presented characteristic, sifatul aridah. So we have alif madiyya, hamza ba ta sa jim ha, dal zal ra za sin shin, ain fa kaf lam mim nun ha waw ya. All of these letters fall under the istifal. Now we have the exception again, lam in lafzul jalala, Allahumma, and in the word Allahum, Allah and Allahumma. The lam would be read with tafkhim, depends on the haraka before it. The letter alif and the ra also can take tafkhim, so this is an exception to tarqiq. Although these 3 letters are the letters of istifal, but they can take tafkhim, therefore it's an exception to it. The letter alif, the ruling is that it will take the same ruling of the letter to which it is attached to. It is read with tafkhim if it is attached to a mufakham harf, and it will be read muraqqaq if it is attached to a muraqqaq harf. Means that if it is attached to a heavy letter like here, sa, ba, and kha, you can see it. Alif will become heavy, mufakham, because it is attached to a heavy letter. And if it is attached to a letter which is light, like the ba, ta, and the tha, alif will stay light. So alif doesn't have its own ruling. It just follows the ruling of the letter to which it is attached with. Although these are the letters of istifal, which is permanent sifa, but these can take tarqeem in certain circumstances, and I explained it how. So we've done lam in lafz al-jalala, Allah and Allahumma, alif, as is explained in here. Now the letter ra. Now we have the letter ra. Ra, fatha, ra with the fatha and the ra with the dhamma is mufakham, and with the kasra it is muraqqaq. Ra sakina has more rules. Rule of ra sakina. So ra is heavy in 8 cases. Ra is light in 4 cases. Ra can be heavy or light in 2 cases. So ra mutaharika and ra sakina, all of the rules are covered on this slide. So ra with the fatha, as explained earlier, is mufakham. So ra is heavy in 8 cases. All of these 8 cases is given in here. Ra with the fatha, ra sakina, see what's before it. If it has a fatha, then the ra will become heavy. If the ra is sakina and the letter before it is also sakin, keep going back and look at the last third letter. If the last third letter has a fatha, the ra would be heavy again. So I can give you an example of the words like ra with the fatha, Ramadan, Ramadan. So ra would be heavy. Ra sakina with the fatha before it, Marqadina, Maryam. You can see that meme has a fatha and the ra sakina. Ra would be heavy. If the ra is sakin and the letter before it is a sakin as well, keep going back and look the letter before it. If it has a fatha, ra would be heavy. Like wal fajr, fajr. These were the examples with the fatha. Now we have the 3 examples with the dhamma now. Ra with the dhamma is heavy. Ra with ra sakina, look what's before it. If it has a haraka dhamma, ra would be heavy. Ra sakina, if the letter before it also is sakin, keep going back, look at the last third letter. If it has a dhamma, the ra would be heavy again. So the example can be given in the words like Nur, Nuruhum, Nuruhum, Ruhum, Yur, Yurja'una, Yur, look, Yur, Ya Dhamma, Ra Sakin, Yur, Yurja'una. Here, Ra Sakina, a letter before it is also Sakin, then the last third letter has a Dhamma, so we'll say Khusr, Khusr, Khusr. You can see the Kha with the Dhamma, Sin is light, Ra is Sakin, so that will make the Ra heavy as well. So these are the 3 examples with the Fatha, these are the 3 examples with the Dhamma. Then we have these 2 exceptional rules where the Ra Sakina has a letter before it which is carrying a kasra. So as a normal routine, we will say the Ra would be light because it has a kasra before it. But if a Ra Sakina has a kasra before it but followed by Huruf al-Isti'ala, any of the heavy letter, now this will impact the Ra Sakina and the Ra Sakina will be read with heaviness, with Tafkheem. And we have few words in the Quran like Mirsada. And you can read this word in Surah An-Naba. Mirsada. Mirsa. Mir. You will not say mir. Mir. Keep the ra heavy. Mirsada. We have ra sakina. If you find hamzatul wasl coming before it, automatically now the ra will become heavier, no matter whatever the haraka before it is. Whether you read hamzatul wasl in the word or not, the moment you find ra sakina that has a hamzatul wasl before it in a word, just make the ra sakina heavier now. An example is irji'i, irji'i. We have quite a lot of examples of ra sakina with the hamzatul wasl before it in the Quran, inshallah. So as you can see, I colored it so that you can easily follow this pattern. And then if you practice writing this way, ra with the fatha, ra sakina with the fatha before it, ra sakina with the sukoon, and then a fatha before it, and then with a dhamma, follow the same pattern, and then fill it with the words. Find the words and fill it, yeah, yourself, inshallah. This will make it less confusing for you. We have ra, which is light in 4 cases. We have a ra with a kasra. Almost the pattern is the same. Now it's only with a kasra. And a few explanations and clarifications. Ra kasra is always read light. We have ra sakina. Look what's before it. If it has a kasra, yes, it is read light, but this should be an original kasra. Like here, this hamzatul wasl, if it's carrying a kasra, like irji'i, this kasra was temporary. It wasn't original. Yeah, this was a temporary kasra because hamzatul wasl is a temporary letter. It's not always there. It's there just to help you to read with the word which starts with the sukoon. So just to counter this situation, you need to say, now this kasra is original. Okay, and this kasra with the ra sakin after it is not followed by any huruf al-isti'la. There shouldn't be any heavy letter after it. So this situation is to counter this. Like we have a ra sakina with a kasra before it, but this ra is not light because it has a heavy letter after it. So therefore we need to make it clear, ra sakina with an original kasra before it, and there shouldn't be any heavy letter after it, because otherwise this will fall under this or this. So just make it clear here. Then we have ra sakina preceded by another second letter. Keep going back, look at the last third letter. If that letter has a kasra under it, this will impact the ra sakina, and the ra sakina will be read heavily. Just to be careful that this letter in the middle should not be a heavy letter. Why? Because if it's a heavy letter here, even though it's sakin and there's a kasra before it, this will fall under one of these situations, and we're gonna learn those ones. So just to avoid these situations, we need to just make it clear that ra sakina preceded by a sakin letter other than mufakham letter. It should isti'ala letter. So this letter should be light. Ra sakina having a light letter here and another letter here with a kasra. This will be making ra light. Now the fourth case, ra sakina preceded by a ya of lean. And that ya of lean, we know that ya of lean is always preceded by a fatha, so it can be any word. The moment you find a ra sakina with the ya here, this ra will be read light. Like we say khair, ghair, Quraish. Quraish, I think Quraish, it doesn't fall under the ra sakina. That's Raish, Rafata. Sorry about that. That's not a good example. So Ghair and the Khair are the two examples I can think of that applies to the ra sakina preceded by ya of lin in the middle. So these were the 4 cases of the light ra. Hope this is clear. Now we have the 2 cases where the ra sakina can be read with heaviness or it can be read with light sound. So the words are, if the ra sakina has a kasra before it, but if it's followed by a heavy letter and that heavy letter has a kasra under it, now you have the option either to make the ra heavy or light, and this is in continuation only. The 2 options is when you continue reading and you're not stopping on this word onto the letter qaf, for example. So you'll say firqin or firqin. You have 2 options, either to make the ra sakin heavy or a light. If you stop in the middle of the ayah on this word, then this qaf will not be taking a haraka because you will be stopping, and due to stopping you will turn this qaf into sakina. Therefore, ra sakina having a kasra before it followed by heavy letter, this ra will be read heavy now. Firq, firq, firq. That will be the same situation as is here. Ra sakina preceded by kasra followed by heavy letter. Okay? The 2 options of heavy and light ra is only in the case when you're reading the haraka of the qaf. Like, because it has a kasra, so therefore the ra in the middle will be like, can be read with the heaviness or a lightness. Now we have the ra sakina preceded by a heavy letter, but that heavy letter is also sakin, and that letter is preceded by a letter with a kasra. You have the 2 options because here in the word you can see the ra sakina has a sakin heavy letter before it, and that heavy letter has a kasra before it. Now because of the kasra, although there is a heavy letter before ra sakina, this will give you 2 options, either to read the ra sakina with the heaviness or with the light sound. Again, when you be reading in the Quran, you need to see that the ra is read with the sukoon. If you're making it heavy or light. Misr, Misr, or Misr, Misr. You won't be able to make much of the difference, honestly. It needs a lot of practice, because Misr, we need to instantly curve our tongue and lower it the moment we come to the light ra. Misr and Misr. Keeping in mind that the thought will stay heavy and the ra light if you're making it light. We have another word, qitr. Qitr. Again, we have 2 options. Ra sakina preceded by a heavy letter, but that heavy letter is preceded by a kasra. You have the option of making the ra either heavy or a light. So it's optional to read it light or a heavy. So these were the rules of the ra sakina. I hope this is clear. Any questions on that or any confusion you can ask, inshallah. For today's lesson, this is what I prepared for you, inshallah. Most of the rules under Tafkheem and Tarqeeq have been covered. Just to be aware of the rules, that when you're reading, make sure if you're reading a light letter, look at the letters which is neighboring to it. If it has a light or a heavy letter, you need to position your tongue accordingly. Do not end up making a light letter heavy just because that letter is neighboring to a heavy letter. So, and it all depends on the practice. The more the practice you do, the more the sifat and the makharij you know and you master, the better it is, because every letter has its own sifa. Every letter has its own sifa, more than one sifa, and if you apply with the right makhraj, with the right sifat, inshallah, and knowing the letters more, you know, when you read the sifat and the makharij, you come to know about that letter more, rather than you just try to read it and copy it from the qurra, the reciters, because this will take more time for you to learn and know why you're making a mistake. For example, if we say the letter ra, and if it's followed by the letter za, most of the students who are the beginners level, they will end up the letter making the letter za heavy as well, like the ra and the za. Because the ra is heavy and the za is neighboring it, the position of the tongue is not changed from the ra to the light letter, lowering it for the letter za. So it all comes with the practice and understanding. And inshallah, this is the reason we all are here. Hopefully, this will benefit you, inshallah. For the sifat and the makharij, we've covered those contents in Urdu in a different videos. Try to watch it, inshallah, and take notes. For any questions, you can always contact. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.